r/AskReddit. What is the thing that surprised you the most when you traveled to a country you had never been to before? I lived in South Korea for about 3 years. You'd be amazed how long you could leave your phone, wallet, keys on an unattended table in a crowded bar and it not be stolen. In the US, you bet your sweet stuff it's getting taken as soon as you look away. Depends where in the US. Definitely depend where in the US. The same applies to Europe. My first trip to New York, entering the subway, someone walked in front of another person, causing them to break their stride for a fraction of a second. Which led to the following exchange without pause or hesitation from either party, shouted at each other as they walked in opposite directions. Your and stuff. Your mother's and stuff. You don't even know who your mother is. She knows you're and stuff. Fade. My first time in NYC, I was walking in Times Square around 3 in the afternoon. As you can imagine, there were tons of people around. So I'm walking and I hear very loudly, stuff. Stuff. 2 for $5. This caught my attention. So I go over to the small crowd to get a look. They were gathered around a guy who had a paper grocery bag sitting on the sidewalk that was full of stuff. I walked on after a few seconds, but I still think about moment on a regular basis. Northwestern Australia. I knew it had a reputation for being ridiculously hot, but legitimately didn't know Earth got that hot and humid. I thought I was going to pass out leaving the airport. Stepping off the plane in Darwin feels like a hot, wet duvet has been draped over your person. That it's possible to weave through Cairo traffic with the skill of a seasoned rally driver, while driving a manual transmission car, frequently using the horn and sipping tea, by holding the saucer, not the cup, at the same time. Shout out to our taxi driver in Cairo. This reminds me of when I went to Cairo. We came out of the train station and couldn't work out how the hell we were supposed to cross like 6 lanes of traffic that didn't seem to follow any road rules. A nice man took pity on us and just stuck his arm out and started walking across all 6 lanes. The cars all stopped, no one beeped, and we scurried after him with our rucksacks. Still blows my mind. From a tropical country near the equator, I was surprised to know that the sun would set completely before 4 p.m. during winter, or having the sun still up at 10 p.m. during summer. This messed me up so much the first time I went to an equatorial country. The weather is summer, but the sun sets at 6? That makes no sense. I walked out of Penn Station when I first arrived in New York, looking up at the buildings, taking it all in, and my first interaction was with a homeless guy who shouted at me in a local accent, "Welcome to New York stuff." It was exactly as I imagined. Iconic. Everyone always carries a mate cup and thermos in Argentina. Even cops drive around drinking from their little cups with the metal straws. It is totally normal that you can buy matching cup and flask with your handbag, dress, etc. The amount of eye contact and observation. When I went to Morocco, in the evening the streets would be packed full of families sitting and talking. These people would watch each other. In fact, even the way I'm describing it with watch shows how unwelcome and uncomfortable it would be in England. People would also make eye contact and keep it frequently on the street, just with ease. It felt so strange for me at first. Yes. Oh my god, I'm from Morocco, and this has always been one of my main complaints about this place, and I never understood why it didn't bother other people so much. It would definitely be considered creepy in other countries, but here, people see no issue in staring at you and what you're doing anywhere, anytime. It's one of the main reasons I hate going out. In Prague, when you open a camera in the street, it's like a force field. PPL automatically moves aside to not stand in the way. Good luck doing the same in Valletta. The incredible security and so. I'm from Latin America, so I'm used to be very alert at everything, everywhere. I forgot my backpack in a small cafeteria, and after 25 minutes it was completely untouched in the same spot. You could walk at 3 a.m. with your cell phone in your hands, and there'll be no fear about anything. My friend was once studying in a cafe in Korea and went home for maybe 20 minutes to change his laundry over. Left his laptop and phone on the table in the cafe because he knew they'd still be there when he got back. And they were. The exception to this is bicycles. Bicycles get stolen pretty often in Korea, no idea why that's the exception. Heated sidewalks in Finland. Absolutely lifesavers for me who had no idea how to walk on ice. No trash anywhere, either. Adding to this, icy sidewalks. Didn't think about it because I wasn't somewhere with obvious snow, but turned a corner in Vancouver and basically surfed down a block and a half. Probably only didn't eat pavement because I'd just been skiing for a week. Ashgabat, Turkmenistan, everything about it. the entire city. Every building is white marble. It lights up at night like a sterile Las Vegas. However, there is no advertising except for billboards of the dictator holding onto puppies by the neck to show everyone how nice he is. He has pretty much positioned himself as a religious prophet. The airport is shaped like a massive white marble eagle. It used to be a red building, but soon after it was built they tore it down and built a white marble one to match the current decor. Also, there is no white marble in Turkmenistan, so it has to be imported from Italy. They were the largest importer of white marble in the world and drove the price up so high it cost them ridiculous amounts of money to build the buildings. Strange place. Turkmenistan's post-Soviet history can be explained, in part, by their stuff-crazy dictator, Sapar Muratniyazov. Some of his decrees include banning the use of lip-syncing at public concerts in 2005, as well as sound recordings at musical performances on state holidays, in broadcasts by Turkmen television channels, at all cultural events organized by the state, in places of mass assembly, and at weddings and celebrations organized by the public, citing a negative effect on the development of musical arts incurred by the use of recorded music. Banning dogs from the capital, Ashgabat, because of their unappealing odor. Ordering that the Palace of Ice, or indoor ice skating rink, be built near the capital, so that those living in the desert country could learn to skate. The rink was built in 2008. Banning smoking in all public places on account of his having to quit because of some heart surgery he had, and ordering his government workers to follow suit. Chewing tobacco on Turkmen soil was later banned as well. Outlawing opera, ballet and circus performances in 2001 for being decidedly un-Turkmen-like. Banning men from having long hair or beards. Banning news reporters and presenters from wearing makeup on television. He abolished the Turkmen word for bread, for it to be replaced with Gurban Sultan, his mother's name. Likewise, he gave the month of April his mother's name. Discouraging the use of gold teeth in Turkmenistan after he suggested that the populace chew on bones to strengthen their teeth and lessen the rate at which they fall out. He said, "I watched young dogs when I was young. They were given bones to gnaw to strengthen their teeth. Those of you whose teeth have fallen out did not chew on bones. This is my advice. Their current dictator is definitely cut from the same cloth as this dude. So I live in Australia. How stuffing fast everyone else's internet are. Given your country essentially invented what we now know as Wi-Fi. Ironic. I was sharing screens with someone in the Netherlands, and they went to download a 100 MB file and it was done so fast I had to ask, did that actually download? Your internet works like that? In Thailand we were watching a movie and they played the national anthem and everyone stood up for their king. I'm in Thailand at the moment. There have been huge protests and speaking out against the monarchy for the past year or so, which is dangerous as it's illegal, with severe penalties. I went to watch a film a few weeks ago and only around half the people in the cinema stood up during the showing of the King's video before the movie. It's not actually the national anthem, just some rousing nationalist song with clips of him in ceremonial dress. This may not sound like a big deal, but it was absolutely unthinkable, even 2 years ago, for half the people to show such disrespect and to remain seated during that part. In Egypt, Cairo, there are times when the electricity goes out every hour. Also, there's KFC in front of the Sphinx. OMG, the KFC is pretty funny. I moved to Denmark a couple of years ago and the biggest culture shock for me was julefrokost. Julefrokost translates to Christmas lunch, which sounds like a nice, wholesome lunch to celebrate the holidays. The first time I went to one, my husband warned me not to eat anything beforehand because there is a lot of food. I didn't think much of it. I mean, we have Thanksgiving in the US, so I just assumed it was a big lunch. No. We have nothing like this in the US. Julefrokost is on an entirely different level. You see, it's a lunch only in name. What it really is sitting down at about noon, and not getting up from your seat again until midnight or later. The food never stops coming. The schnapps never stop coming. It's course after course after course, and the Danes can drink you under the table any day. So combine that with strong liquor over a 12-hour stretch, and you are likely to die. My first julefrokost, I sat across from my husband's uncle, who kept my shot glass full the entire day. I was stuffed by 2 p.m. and full to the point of bursting at 3 p.m. I have never been so sick as I was the day after my first julefrokost. I was surprised that in southern US, and many other parts of it too, I'm sure, you actually need a car to get anywhere. As in, It doesn't just make life easier, it's a near impossibility to go places without it, even if you're in a major city. This is 90% of the US. The only places you don't need a car are in major cities. Since everyone and their mother are saying not all cities. Major cities have bus systems most of the time. You can get around without a car. It's inconvenient and time-consuming, but it's usually possible. I went to the Caribbean when I was younger to some of the smaller islands, and I was shocked by the level of poverty that exists there. This was almost 20 years ago now, so it could be different today, but at the time, pre-internet, and being young and naive, all I'd ever seen about the Caribbean was the white sand beaches on TV, but it was quite an intense experience. Went to the Caribbean 2 years ago. Still high poverty. They rely heavily on tourism. We did an excursion around the town and donated stuff to the local schools. For those wondering, we donated school supplies like colorful notepads, pens, pencils, rulers and animal-shaped erasers. Even the most basic of things can make a difference. They were so excited, bless their little hearts. It was out of school hours, but children were still around when we went back. Hollywood is a real dump. It's filthy and not at all made of dreams. Streets definitely not paved with gold either. My wife absolutely loved California, and it's her favorite place in the world so far. The last day she wanted to see Hollywood. I tried telling her. London streets having huge differences from block to block. Like, my daughter moved there, and so we spent a weekend helping her apartment roommate hunt, and so ended up walking around London a lot. We'd be in some beautiful living area with little dog parks and nice playgrounds, round a corner and hit what was obviously buy all the stuff street. Walk a bit more and you're in a business area with super clean streets and well manicured grass areas. Hit the next street and get ready for the smell of stuff and stuff. Sort of wild, not to say other cities can't be like this, where I am in Budapest can be, but the changes between city blocks right next to each other felt jarring. I'm English and noticed the same thing when I moved to London. I think it's because London is literally 1,000s of smaller towns, each with their own history, and they just kinda became one big city. A few years ago we went to Italy, and I made my wife go on a side trip to Herculaneum and Pompeii for a couple days. In Herculaneum we were wandering around in town when midnight rolled around, and within 15 minutes the streets were filled with people, not hurrying past one another, but just standing around talking, having an ice cream, drinking a stuff or whatever. Cool, sounds like a story, the city just coming alive at the chime of a bell. Singapore is unbelievably clean. As soon as I stepped out of the plane, I swear I did not see a single speck of dust at their airport. Even the toilets were squeaky clean and completely dry. Every day I go out to explore the city by foot and come back to the hotel with almost no dirt on the soles of my shoes. Changi is my favorite airport in the world. The Butterfly Garden and the movie theater were nuts.